friends, my name is Tina Zink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up and I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. I have an amazing card to share with all of you. I am very excited about this particular card because it's one that I've been wanting to create on my own for at least a year, and I finally did it and I just love it. So the card that inspired this is known as a Bookatrix, and there's specific dies that people are using to create these cards, and I thought, I know I can make this without those dies because of course we don't carry those dies, and I have recreated it. These cards are not difficult to make, but they sure pack a big wow factor. You are going to love these cards. They're so much fun to make. I've never seen any other card like this, and you could just use it for so many different occasions. Birthdays, Easter, Christmas, christenings, anniversary, you name it. Once you make one of these, you know why I'm excited about these cards. I can't wait to share this with you. So let's get stamping. So I have all my pieces pre-cut. Now my card base is basic gray. It's our standard size. So when it's closed, it measures 5.5 by 4 1/4. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and bring this edge up to the crease. Just rub my bone folder on top. I'm going to set that aside. Now the measurements for these cards, a lot of them are in 8ths. So this piece here measures 5 1/8 by 7/8. Now the designer series paper that I'm using is called Parisian Blossoms. It is my favorite designer series paper, and this strip measures 4 7/8 by 5/8. And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this to that basic gray strip. Set that aside. Now I have 2 more pieces of the Parisian Blossoms designer series paper, and I want to use the blue side. Now these both measure 5 1/8 by 1 7/8. And I'm going to adhere these to the flap and also right here on the inside. Just line that up. So now that I've got these 2 pieces done, I'm going to set them aside, and I'm going to show you how to make the actual book piece. Now I have Whisper White. Now this measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And another piece of designer series paper, this measures 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. All of the measurements will be on my blog, and the link for that will be in the description below. What I'm going to do to these 2 pieces, actually all pieces that are going to make the book, are just going to be folded right in half. Just going to go ahead and do that. Set that aside. This piece of Whisper White measures 4 5/8 by 3 3/8. The bone folder comes in really handy for this. And then look at this. This has that beautiful script on it. Perfect for this. I'm going to fold that in half, and this piece of designer series paper measures 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. Now the next thing to do is to curve each piece. I want them to be curved like an open book. Now you could take your bone folder and just go across the paper like that to get it to bend, but what I've been doing that I find easier is I'm taking my take your pick tool, and I'm simply rolling each half to the centerpiece, and that gives me a perfect curve for each page. So I'm going to do that to all 4 pieces. So this piece fits inside the larger piece, and this one fits inside the smaller Whisper White. So that's what's going to make it look like you've got those pages. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my tear and tape. I'm going to put a strip right along the center of this designer series paper and also of this designer series paper. Something like the tear and tape works a lot better than using our glue or our snail adhesive, just because it's a stronger adhesive. I'm going to flip this around, get my pointy bit, and lift off the backing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fold this in half and then line up the edge and the two top and bottoms right onto this white piece, and then take my bone folder and push down on that adhesive. Now I'm taking my glue dots and I'm going to put 3 glue dots on the inside of the designer series paper. You could also use the tear and tape, but I just found that this worked best for me for lining up the edges. And to line up the edges, I'm just holding the top and the bottom and pushing down just slightly onto the middle right here, and then pushing down on those glue dots. And then you get that raised bit right there. Do the same thing on this side. Glue dot in the middle and one on the top and the bottom. Okay, and then holding the top and the bottom. I found this was the trickiest bit when I first started making these. So after some trial and error, I found this was definitely the easiest way to do this. So you see, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Fold it in half. Line it up on the center crease, making sure it's pretty much the same distance on the top and the bottom. And then just take the bone folder and push down on that adhesive. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my glue dots and my designer series paper. So there are my 2 book layers. And now what I want to do is glue this on top of that larger piece. So this is going to be my book. So I'm going to put some tear and tape along here. Okay, same thing, fold it in half, put it down in the center, and push down on that adhesive. And just like I did with the designer series paper, I'm going to put a glue dot on each corner and also in the middle to hold these in place. And I'm also going to curve this layer up just ever so slightly. Okay. Oops. There's my book. Super, super easy. And then I'm going to put this onto my card base. Now I only want to put adhesive on this top layer so that this sticks to the top and not to the bottom, so that it will open up like an easel. Oh my gosh, that's looking so pretty. And we're not even done. So I am going to put some tear and tape this time just on the top, going down just a bit. And a little bit down the center. And I'm using the tear and tape instead of the glue dots because I really want to make sure this piece stays on my card. Okay, so I'm going to line up this center with the center here. Just like so, push down. And again, I'm kind of holding this up a little bit so it's a little bit bent. And pushing down. So here's what you have. Now we need the stopper to make this an easel card. So I'm bringing this piece back in. And some Stampin' Dimensionals. When you put this down, it doesn't matter if you put it up closer to the top or if you put it in the center. It's completely your preference. And of course you can decorate this portion however you like. So you're going to want to keep that in mind depending on where you put this piece. So I'm going to put mine not quite in the middle. Just like that. And then now this stands up. So that easel bit holds it in place. Isn't that so cool? I absolutely love this. And it's not even decorated yet. So now I'm going to go ahead and start decorating. And to do that, I'm using the Forever Blossom stamp set. And I'm going to stamp this image and color it and then cut it with the coordinating die. So I am inking the large flower with my black StazOn. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to color this with my inks and my aqua painter. One of my favorite things to do. I do that a lot in my videos. I just find using the aqua painter with my ink pads so fast, and I love how the colors blend together. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Now because there's already so much petal pink on this layer, I want to pull out some of that blue onto the flowers. So I'm going to use my Pool Party. This is one of our old style ink pads. So I'm just squeezing a little bit of water out into my ink, and I'm just going to go ahead and color my flowers. Too much water, so that's why I've got my napkin here so I can blot some of that water off. I'm going to go back in with some more Pool Party and just add a little bit of shading. That's it for the blue. Now I'm going to bring in some green, and I'm going to use Granny Apple Green just to add a nice brightness. And I think I'm going to pull in some Old Olive as well. Lastly, I'm bringing in my Petal Pink After All, and I'm just dabbing it onto a block just because these newer style, it's harder to get the ink on the lid. So just as easy to dab some of that ink onto a block and pick it up that way. And I'm going to add a little bit into the centers. And then that will tie in the Designer Series paper nicely. Is all colored. I'm going to go ahead and cut that with my die, and I'll be right back. So there's my beautiful die cut ready for the card, and I'm going to take my bone folder and just bend. bend the edges just so it's got some dimension to it. I'll set that there. Now I have a piece of scrap Whisper White. This is just the bits that come off when I'm trimming my Whisper White cardstock, and I save them all to make little banners. And I'm going to use All of Me Loves All of You. I'll put that on my block. And just stamp that down, just like so. All right, now I have to decide where I'm going to be placing this. I think I'm going to put this on this side. So I'm going to bring in my dimensionals again. And I'm just placing them on the outside of the flower because the inside is going to be curved up a little bit. I'm just going to trim a little bit here. Cut that in half. My dimensionals don't get wasted. I use all the little bits around the end. There. Perfect. And just put that right on like so. So it has that 3D. I like that it's not flush right to the paper. So nice. And now I'm just going to flag this end. I'm going to go right up the center, and then from the edge to the center, and then the edge to the center, and then that makes my little banner. And I probably don't need all of this, but let's just see. Yeah, we can trim some of that off. Okay, I'm going to bring in my bone folder and just curl this a little bit. Just play with it until you're happy with it when you're making this. And then I think that's going to get tucked on right about there. Bring in my good old glue dots again. Okay, let's just tuck this in right underneath this flower. And I'm holding this up just to bend it a little bit. And I have to add a little bit of bling, so I'm bringing in my champagne rhinestones, and I'm just picking up the tiny ones, and I'm going to put one right in the center of these flowers. So there's my finished card, and I'm so happy with it. And then of course it props up on the little pedestal. I'll put it down so you can see. So you can see how it looks just like a book with all the different pages. So you're probably wondering if this fits into our standard size envelope. So it does. I would put it in this way, but it will be a tight fit. But as you can see, it does fit, and it might get a little bit squished in the mail. So you could either use a padded envelope, or you can make a larger envelope using the envelope punch board that we used to sell. But it does fit into our standard size envelope. And that's why I created the measurements that I did so that it would fit in the envelope. So my friends, this card is not only so much fun and really easy to put together, but it's one of the most addictive cards I think I've ever made. And I could not stop making cards to share with you the different ways you can do this. I literally had to force myself to stop or I would never get the video made. So let me show you some other versions of this really beautiful open book easel card. So here's another one. I used the same color scheme, except instead of white, I used my pretty pink cardstock. I made some roses. I used silver embossing for the butterflies. This script is the stamp that's part of the Parisian Beauty stamp set. And this stamp image is from our host set, which is called New Wonders. And I just love all the different script that we can use on these cards. And of course, it pops up. Whoops, get that leaf out. Pops up just like so. So I can set it down. You can see it stands up. And so beautiful. You could create these for anniversaries and put, you know, if it's a 50th, you could put the 50 over here. You could put a photo here. The possibilities are absolutely endless. Now, if you're like me, many of us have lots of celebration goodies left over from this year's promotion. So this uses my lovely lily pad die and stamp set and the coordinating designer series paper. Now, the die that I used to cut out the two white pieces, they are from our beautiful Bows dies. This has been carried over from our holiday catalog, so it's still available, and I thought it worked perfectly. And then I used different stamps. These two are from Peaceful Moments. This one is from Grace's Garden. And again, it just pops right up and looks beautiful. I have 3 more. I told you I can't stop making these. This one is using the pressed petals, and I just added the You Mean So Much to Me banner, and then our fun pressed petals washi tape. And then that sits up like so. This one features the Grace's Garden stamp set and coordinating dies. And I made a little banner to go on the page, and the designer series paper, which also has more script on it, is from the Pressed Petals designer series paper. And then when you open it up, I added more die cuts along the bottom. And of course, I had to create a Christmas card using this fold. So the designer series paper was from our holiday catalog. It will be carried over into our new annual catalog next year. And again, I used the Peaceful Bows dies, which are on that holiday carryover list. And I used my vellum and my silver foil. And then the pine cones I cut out using early espresso, and then I put on some silver foil on top of that, and then I had to put some dazzling diamonds on the trees and also on the pine cones. And then when this sits up, that's the decorative piece there. I think it's evident I am absolutely loving this card. It is just the most fun, and the possibilities are endless. You could put photos on the inside, you can decorate this strip, you can stamp down there. I should mention, like on these ones, you could also emboss on the inside. So you can really go to town with these cards and make them as simple or as elaborate as you wish. I just know that you guys are going to come up with all kinds of brilliant ways to create cards using this design. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it so you're notified every time I upload a new video, which is at least once a week, sometimes more. In the meantime, here are a couple more videos you may find interesting. Have a great day and happy stamping.